everyone, it's Serena from Pay or Wait, and today we're going to be reviewing The Handmaid's Tale Season 3, Episode 3, Useful. And so as the beginning of the episode opens up, we see June. She's looking up, she's staring at the body of these Marthas, who she assumes to be a part of the resistance, who were hanged for heresy, even though she looks at them as martyrs. But in a place like Gilead, you can't have martyrs because martyrs give people hope. They give people a sense of meaning in life, that they're dying for something that is important. But if you're heretics, it was just like, oh, they're stupid. Like, they knew what they were going to do was going to get them killed. That just doesn't make any sense. And so I like how that's how she really looks at these women who are hanging above her. And we see that the other handmaids, we get to see Janine again, as they're kind of just having a conversation amongst amongst each other, talking about the women. And then we see the guardians come and tell them, hey, no talking, and basically makes them disperse. And so we go back to Commander Lawrence's house, where we see that there is a new Martha called Sienna, because we know that he sent Cora away for lying to him. And so Sienna's a young woman, and he is just, he is giving her just the hardest time. I just wanted to comfort her and be like, it's okay, Sienna. He's just an ass. Like, he's an ass to June. He's an ass to everybody. That's just how it happens. But they were talking about there's this big meeting that's going to happen at Commander Lawrence's house, because he does not go to meetings anymore. They come to him. That is what Sienna basically tells him. So we know that he's going to have some type of gathering for the other commanders, but we don't know exactly what it is for. So Beth and June are talking, and they're saying that they haven't heard anything from the resistance. Everything is pretty much quiet now. And then June sees the commander. She's like, hey, I hope you're doing well. And he's just like, I hope so to you too. But he asked her, like, are you working hard? And she was like, yes. And he said, girl, hard doing what? What are you doing? And so she's looking at him like, what are you talking about? So we see that during the course of this episode, Serena is actually with her mom. And I think that the scenes that play out between Serena and her mom are so powerful, because it gives you a little bit more of an insight as to who Serena is, why she acts the way that she does, and kind of how she kind of has this cold heart at times. And so we learn so much from her throughout these interactions that we see with her mother, but I'll get into that a little bit more towards the end of the video, as we kind of have this scene that plays out where her mama was so disrespectful, but Serena disrespectful too. I'm not gonna feel bad for her, but her mama was definitely shady boots in that entire scene. During the course of all of this, we see that Commander Lawrence is like talking to Sienna, and then she's like cleaning up something that he spilt, and then he was just like, are the Marthas supposed to be clean? And then he basically just, I don't know if he hazing this girl, if this is how he just is with everyone that comes into his house, but she seems to be having a very tough time with all of this. And we even see that eventually, as the commanders come to meet with one another, that he kicks Sienna out from pouring the wine. He told her that she was pouring too slow, and he wants June to come in and to pour the wine. So there could be a plethora of reasons of why he asked her to do this. We see that June and Fred kind of have this interaction with one another as they're as he comes for the meeting. All the men are conversing, and then I guess Lawrence kind of catches that they're talking, and he comes in like, looking around like, do we have any issues? Like, I know that she used to be your handmaid, but like, what's going on? And so Fred is just like, no, it is what it is. Like, everything is fine. And she kind of has this like back and forth with Fred, asking how everybody is. And I was just like, June, sometimes I just don't know. Like, do you be asking because you really want to know? Or are you trying to be petty to rub it in his face that his life is basically in shambles? All these crazy things has happened. Because he like, girl, you caused all this stuff to happen. So like, what are you asking me for? And so we see that as he invites June into the room where the commanders are having a meeting, we hear that they're having a discussion in regards to what to do with all these women that they've captured. Can they be handmaids? Can they be Marthas? Are we full with all the positions for now? What is going on? And so we see that this conversation is important because it comes into play later towards the end of the episode. And so we see also that Nick is in the room. So Nick has now been promoted to a commander, and before she could even have time to think about that, he asks June, hey, like, I need you to grab a book for me off of the shelf. And so he's really trying to break her down, let her know what her place is, because there's been this weird, like, power struggle between the two of them, because when we first meet Commander Lawrence, we think that he's a good person. And that's how June thinks that he is, because he tried to help save her. Like, that was the first time of them meeting. You know, he was trying to help her get out of Gilead. And so she doesn't know how to read him, what to make up of him. And that's why she asked Fred, you know, what do you know about Commander Lawrence? He's like, he's too high up for me to be asking questions. Like, I don't know. He's hard to read. And everyone kind of has the same perspective of him. And June is trying to figure out how to resonate with him, how to manipulate him, because he's just all over the place with the different types of emotions that he's been going through since season 2 and now into season 3. And so he basically really just tries to just dog June out, really embarrass her, having her bow down, give him the book. You know, we see a glimpse of all the other books that he's read, which comes into play with the conversation that him and June have in his study. And so you can tell, I think that Elizabeth Moss does such a fantastic job of acting with just her face without saying any words. You can see the level of disgust that she had, just like, you raggedy, just get on my damn nerves. Like, you didn't even go grab this damn book for you. I felt that, like, when she was looking at it, she was like, I probably can't do it because I can't hide my facial expressions. But it was just way too much for me. I felt tense. Fred felt tense. Nick felt tense. Everybody looking at her. I was just like, it's way too much. But I think Elizabeth does a very fantastic job with the silence, the facial expressions as she acts. And so she ends up giving him the book. They go on about her day. And so we kind of go to Serena, who's with her mom, given everything that's happened with the house burning down. She goes to stay with her mom for a little bit, and her mom tells her, like, hey, we have this prayer group and I think you should come downstairs. She's like, girl, I'm not really trying to do that. But you can tell that her mom is just very pushy, and they kind of, you feel as though they could have had like a rocky relationship, because her mom doesn't seem like the nicest person, or that she really takes into care her daughter's feelings. It's really just about keeping up appearances and making sure that you're playing your role. And they have this prayer group, and I think there's a nice moment where we see that Rita actually makes Serena a glove to go over her finger that kind of matches their color or whatnot, which I thought was really cute, because you can tell Serena's really going through it, and she's insecure about her finger and what's happening in her family. And so she goes downstairs with the little cover and stuff like that. And so they're having this prayer group, and we can see that one of the commanders is praying for his wife, who is ill. And then they asked Serena to come. And then he basically just started praying for her, praying for their marriage, then saying women need to respect their husbands and all that. I was saying, wait a minute, mama, did you tell them my business? Like, is that what's going on right now? Like, I was like, girl, they know your whole life. This ain't no like special prayer. This one, the Lord, you know how people say the Lord just put this on my heart today to say this. No, they know all your business. And then for you to start doing all this, like, a woman has to respect her husband, which is a thing that, like, we see when we switch to, you know, Fred basically having this conversation that we initially think is with Serena. And I was just like, what hotel they at with this little Jezebel purple that they got going on? But then I see he's going through this speech on how things are going to be better, how the man is the head of the household and he wants to take care of his family. And then he was like, is that good? And I was like, is that good? And then he went one of the Jezebel girls. I was just like, Fred, I just can't stand Fred. He irks my nerves so much. And then it almost makes you feel like, does he even feel like this is believable? Is he even capable of actually changing? Does he even know what is actually wrong with Serena? Why she's not happy in their marriage? Fred just really does something to my spirit, child. I can't even look at him. It just really bothers me. And I was just like, I can't. So we go to this conversation. June takes him. I don't know what the heck she took him. Really don't matter at this point. So she's having this conversation with Commander Lawrence in his study. And you can tell she's trying to put her moves on him, just intellectually stimulate his mind to get him on her side. And so it seems as though the Commander Lawrence is actually falling for this, until he was just like, girl, do this stuff really be working on Fred? Like, you got to do better, because if this is working on him, Lord, I don't know what you're going to have to do with me. And so, you know, he asked this question about how women, they ask to not be defined by their bodies, but then they use it to get what they want. And so she says maybe they aren't, maybe men are just too easily distracted. And so I love this kind of back and forth that they go through, and it really makes me, the view that Commander Lawrence has on women, because we hear like all these analogies that he gives, especially when he's talking to June, calling her spoiled, saying she's not useful, she really has no purpose. We saw the whole interaction when she asked, do you want me to go get the door? He was like, I don't know. Do you? Like, should you? And then this whole manipulation, psychological manipulation that he's been trying to due to June, and also to a little bit towards Sienna. And so it's funny because, when he says like women ask not to be defined by their bodies, however, that is what they've done in Gilead. You've defined me by my body because I can bear children. And so you've used my body as like a weapon to produce these new children of Gilead. And so I find it so interesting that the same things that he kind of used against her, this is what they're actually implying in Gilead. You've used our bodies as just for sex. Like, that's what you used it for. So would it not be out of character for her to do the same? Because that's the only way to get a reaction out of the men of Gilead. That's the only time that Fred wants to help her, if he feels as though that he can have her body. He already takes her body, during her ovulation time. And so I just find it interesting how these men just don't understand that they're ruled by their own lust, but still act as though they're holier than thou. We got Fred up in a little brothel. I don't understand. Like, let me just stop. That's my own little random rant. I'm sorry, y'all. So they go back and forth, and so he tells her like, hey, you must have really did a number on the Waterford household, because I don't know how you got them all in shambles at this point. And so, she's been acting like, are you a good person? Like, why did you help me? And he was like, I helped Emily because she's unnaturally intelligent. He knew that she would be useful in the world someday. And then, he's basically been regretting his decision to ever help June. He feels as though that she's not worthy, that she hasn't defined what her purpose is, how she's going to be useful to the world someday. And I know that June is starting to realize that she wants to be useful in bringing up the resistance to help take Gilead down. But I don't know if necessarily he's trying to bring it out of her. He's trying to push her into self-reflection to understand what her purpose now is outside of just getting Hannah and getting out of Gilead, but also to help push her towards being a part of the resistance. And so he asks, like, what have you ever done but edit these stupid books that really don't matter? And she's just like, you wrote the same books. What are you talking about? And so they go back and forth. Like, she was just like, you try to make yourself feel better because you do this one good deed at a time, because you're the one who came up with the colonies, and you think that by helping one person every now and a blue moon makes you this good person somehow, and is all of a sudden absolves you for your sins of coming up with the idea of the colonies in the first place. And so they go back and forth because he feels as though that she doesn't understand that, like, he's trying to fight, and I'm not taking up for him, you guys, but he takes her on a trip. He's like, let's go for a drive. And so they go, and he shows her the women that they were talking about in the meeting at the beginning of the episode, and how he has to choose 5 women, and he has to read their backgrounds, try to figure out a way to save some. Saving 5 is better than saving none at all. And so he tells her, you now have the decision. What 5 are you going to save? And she was just like, no. And he was like, well, then they all die. And she was just like, I'm not going to take responsibilities for what you've caused. Like, their deaths are on you, it's not on me. You can't transfer this guilt. You can't transfer your guilt to me. And so she leaves, she gets in the car. And so basically we see that Nick comes to visit June. And she's going through something. She was like, oh, I see you're a commander now. Like, can you help get Hannah out? I said, girl, you really be trying to, like, asking people for stuff. Like, he didn't just try to help you and then you brought your behind back, even though we know that you stayed for Hannah, but still. So she's, like, really rude to Nick. He tells her that she's going to Chicago. She was like, you're going to be killed, because, we know from Messy, her Messy walking partner, that they're uprising in Chicago against, this new democracy that they have. And so he was like, well, I just wanted to say goodbye. She was like, goodbye. And I was like, girl, why are you being so rude to Nick like this? And so, he walks out and he kind of just leans against the wall. And then she realizes, like, girl, snap out of it. Like, you're probably never going to see him again. She brings him in. I guess, they smash, whatever, it happens. But yeah, so we see that Serena has a conversation with her mother. And so she's outside in the rain smoking. She's been acting weird this entire time. And so she has this discussion with her and she's telling her, like, she starts crying and she's like, Serena, stop with the dramatics. It's hard to see your child in pain. And then she was just like, don't you think I know? Like, you don't understand. Like, it's even kind of alluded to the fact it's even harder of like letting your child go. And so she was just like, you gave that baby away and you weren't even her mother. And I was like, girl, I was like, why are you saying this to your daughter? And isn't this against what you guys believe in? And she's basically telling her, like, you're nothing without Fred. You're going to give up your influence and all of this for what? And she was just like, but can I tell you, like, what happened? You don't even know what has happened in our marriage. You don't know why I feel the way I feel. And her mother is basically, she's not having it. She's just basically telling you need to get it together. You need to go back to your husband and be Mrs. Waterford and have the status, the influence, and everything that you've asked for. And she really just doesn't care. She brushes it to the side and I can see like where she gets a cold heartedness. She doesn't seem to have had any warmth or love from her mother. And it's just a very interesting conversation and dialogue that they have amongst one another. And it's nice to see that because I do wonder how, like, what happened to their parents? Like, how did their parents feel? Like, how did they feel about these concepts as they were telling them about it? And so now we kind of see that her mom is all about keeping up appearances and whatever it takes to make sure that you have the life that you wanted to live, which really disregards, like, the pain that her child is going through of giving away her child because she realizes how Gilead treats women. And so I just thought it was very interesting as you get to learn these new and different layers and sides to Serena, even though she's still trashy, still raggedy, but I understand a little bit more why she reacts and acts the way that she actually does. And so we see that Serena goes to visit June, and then she asks her, like, do you think about Nicole? And like, how do you stop thinking about her? Because she's like, I think about her every minute. And they started kind of talking about little things that Nicole would do. And so she tells Serena that you are her mother. We're both her mothers. You did something only a mother could do, give away their child to have a better life, to make sure that she was actually safe. And so Serena's just like, I'm just not that person anymore. I'm not who I used to be anymore. And she was just like, maybe we're stronger than we think we are. We go through these experiences. We've had all these bad things happen to us. But at the end of the day, we're still here. We're still surviving. We're still stronger than we've ever been before. And so June gives Commander Lawrence like the choices for the women to survive. So she accepts her role and how she can do better. And this is how she can be useful. As June was trying to tell Serena that she is useful to going to, to being strong, not giving up this other part of who she was. And so we kind of see these two women starting to understand like what they're capable of, how much they've had to endure, how much they can withstand. And so we got to kind of start to see this resistance rise amongst both of them in two very different ways. And so I like how when June goes to talk to Beth about choosing the Marthas, she is useful because the Marthas that she chose are based on their backgrounds. One's a journalist, one's a lawyer, one's an engineer, one's an IT tech, and then the other one is a thief. And so she's starting to build these people and understand what their uses are. And just kind of like even going back to what Commander Lawrence was saying about Emily, she's unnaturally intelligent. And so he's trying to, I really think that he is, even though he is an asshole, he's trying to push June to realize how she can be useful to this movement that she's trying to help build. And so she tells Sienna, like, hey, you survived another day, trying to give Sienna some type of hope because he's still hazing her. And so she kind of ends with this speech on how they're going to be useful, how they're going to survive, how they're going to learn how to manipulate these men. And she ends it saying, one day when we're ready, we'll come for you. And so I love how they're really setting up this resistance, this war that is coming, this war of women taking back control of their bodies, taking back control of the land, taking back control of their children. And so I can't wait to see for all of this to happen. I hope this isn't a whole season of them building up to this and then we have to wait until season 4 for the actual war. But I thought overall, I thought it was a very great episode. I love that we dive more into in depth of how women are treated, of the side, how, you know, this world of Gilead has beaten women down to stop believing in themselves, to stop seeing their purpose. Like, that's basically what these men are doing, is taking away their purpose and really just telling women what they should be doing, how they should be doing it. And I want to say Commander Lawrence is a good person. I still don't know, but I do feel as though he is giving June a little bit of tough love to kind of push her through to figure out what is she going to do that she has the second chance to change things. And so, yeah, so those are my thoughts on The Handmaid's Tale Season 3, Episode 3. Useful. As always, my name is Sharana from Pay Your Weights, and if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys soon.